Hello and welcome to Stationeers. I'm Lion, and this is the beginning of the quiet part of the gameplay. So I'm going to be talking over this, and I've decided that probably the best way to do this is kind of be like a Dear Diary, where I just kind of explain what I did each day and highlight the interesting bits and talk through them. So here we're just getting ready for another Harvey Bay, getting all the materials ready to start building. I think this is going to be the best way to get through the footage that we've got as quickly and succinctly as possible, really. So hold on to your hats. This should be fairly quick, I hope, and full of bits and pieces that we've done. As I have mentioned before, if you want to see the build of this particular Harvey Bay, I have a video in the how-to playlist, which will be linked at the end of the video. After the trays are laid out properly, next come the Harveys. And next we have the chute system, which basically lets each Harvey feed all the other Harveys, creating an infinite loop, as it were. We're on day 141 now, and straight after that Harvey Bay is finished, we move straight on to the next one. Then I get round to putting in a pressure regulator there for the oxygen tank, just to make sure it's always got a good amount of oxygen in. Now, it was mentioned in the comments, why am I not using a smart canister? And I agree, why am I not using a smart canister? It would have been the smart thing to do. Unfortunately, obviously, it didn't cross my mind. So that's set to 9 megapascals, and that'll just make sure at least we've got a decent amount of oxygen every time we need it. This is a temporary setup. It's just close to the water, close to the food, and for now, it's just a thing. Next comes a volume pump out to a eventual storage tank on the outside that I use an IC there to set up to come on basically when the pipe gets above a certain threshold. And that code really is quite simple, as if the pipe gets over 10 megapascals, push some into the other pipe. Now I will use the other oxygen there eventually to do something better with, but for now, again, temporary, well, I use the word temporary very liberally, but I will eventually use that somewhere else. So that's the IC housing that powers all of that. So on to day 143 now, and it's outside because I'm sick of the greenhouse. I've done enough work in there to last me for a lifetime, but it's going to have to be looked at again one day. In the meantime, though, the Harvey Bays are not actually that I've just created are not actually in motion yet, but I decided to come out here and start expanding and designing new systems. So the first thing is to just give ourselves a bit more floor space. And in some of that floor space, we're going to put a new large tank. This is going to be for the hot gas, because the hot gas tank that we've got right now is a small one, and it's not really doing a great job at holding all the gases that we need. It's starting to get a bit overpressured. We're going to stick with running the pipes up into the air. That way we can keep the gangway clear for walking around. Just makes things a bit neater in the long run, I feel. So here we're just going to put in a volume pump in line just to empty the tank that's already full of hot gas into the big tank, and then we'll reconnect this line later. So while that tank is emptying into the bigger tank, it was my decision to focus on oxygen next, because we are producing enough that we can be storing some, and it's really good temperature as well. So in fact, well, really for the soup canister it could even be colder, purely for the fact that cold air in the soup will possibly give us a longer life out in the hot Venusian atmosphere. It might help with the soup cooling, but in any case, we still need more storage, and it's still a good temperature. So I go mining down here. Decided to put it underneath the base. Now, one of the factors that went into that decision is that there's so many pipes. There's actually a pipe in between where it comes out the greenhouse and the concourse level on the other side of that service hatch. running the coolant line. So I'd have to move the coolant line, or I'd have to run this down and then up again anyway, regardless. So rather than run it down and then up again into a tank up top, I could put the tank in line underneath just to save space up top. So that's what I rolled with in the end. It just seemed a bit more efficient in terms of saving space. Now, a great thing about these tanks, you may or may not know, is that they can be planted on the roof and they don't care. It's fine for them. I think you do need to have something for them to hook onto, but as long as there is a surface, I'm pretty sure they will go in any orientation you like. In today 145 now, and the Harveys have been really busy doing their jobs. We have loads and loads of seeds, we have loads and loads of rice, that's really good. Nice to see them earning their keep and power. So pretty much all the seeds I've thrown to one side. We're going to have a look into the genetics eventually, maybe. I'm not sure yet, but look, it's there, it's part of the game. While I don't believe in GM stuff myself, in the real world, this is a game, it's there, it's a mechanic, it's there to be exploited and to be explored. So I think now the bug testing and fixing's been done. But basically, the seeds were kept and the rice was thrown into the recycler and the centrifuge. Still picking up the ferns by hand at this stage. They're not something that you really need to automate with Harveys. They're not something you really need to be picking unless you really want medical pills, which I like to keep a stock of in a quick access toolbar, just in case, because on Venus, at any point you could be in trouble with your suit and need to take a pill to stop yourself from dying. So the next project out here in the furnace room is to essentially make a second floor using floor grating. These are facing the ground floor in order so that I can put in some icy chips above and they'd actually still be accessible. Otherwise it's going to cause all kinds of problems. You can have them both directions if you want to. I just decided not to. And what am I going to put on this floor, you ask? Well, I did say earlier that I would really like another set of printers, so I could have two lots of printers just in case I walked in and decided that I want to do tanks and pipes at the same time. I don't have to hang around, I can just put pipes and tanks on. So the thing is, to put floating printers, you need to put down a steel frame. And the floor grates themselves don't actually count as a base for the printers. So I had to do some feng shuiing here to get them to fit in. As you can see here, I'm trying to figure out whether I can put it straight underneath. Unfortunately, I can't without putting steel frames in down below, which is a real pain in the backside, but look, it is what it is, and then we just have to work around it, right? However best you can. Also, we're now on day 146. So at that point, clearly I've decided that I need to do some smelting for some reason or another. And as you can see, Amy's have been very, very, very busy. I can't even get in the room now. Which, you know, this is great news because we've got loads of resources, but it's also a bit of a pain. And I don't think it's very good for the frame rate either. But, well, it is what it is. I couldn't be bothered to build a storage facility at the time. And for some time. So, manually it was for probably too long. That being said, I still think I managed to put a pretty big dent in the amount that was in there, just filling up the few backpacks I grabbed there from the house. So as you can see, that bag there has got coal and iron ore in it. We're not messing about, we're doing a huge batch of steel in one go. So that'll go through the sorter system we set up there earlier. It'll get put through the degassing furnace, which is now hooked up to make sure it's always at a good temperature. That'll be transferred over to be smelted, and we should have a lot of steel. There we go, that's the first batch of 500 grams. Get to splitting that straight away and onwards to making the next printer mod, which is probably the reason I went making it, because we're running out of steel for mods. And, well, we need IC housings and all the rest of it, so... And some feng shuiing of the frames and the floors later, we see that we are in a position to actually place things, but not quite. We still need a little bit more space to be able to access the right position, so having to re-feng shui the feng shui that was already feng shuied, and so on and so forth. You get me? You dig, bro? You dig? Anyway, finally, there we go, where we want it. Auto lathe, no, that's not where it's going, that's where the electric printer's going, so that's where it's going to have to go. And then in a minute I realise another mistake. At first I thought I'd have all three machines in pairs along the back wall, but then I realised there wouldn't be enough space, so I decided to put the pipe bender there instead, just so that there was access to the inlets and the outlets from all the machines, without really considering the stackers, without really considering the chutes. So after getting them in and making it all look alright kind of thing, I realise that accessing the input to the auto lathe here is going to be a chore. So now I have to find somewhere else for the hydraulic pipe bender. And I'm thinking right next to it here would probably be a good idea. Better than, and as good as anywhere else. Just face it in the same direction. It should be in, like, so they're all kind of facing the same frames, if you know what I mean. So it will be facing the frame it's in now. Because I can't get it on the back wall because there's too many chutes. So I kind of have to be, well, it could have gone there. I did think about putting it there, but it's so far away from the other ones. I just want to keep it compact. I want to put shelves up along there. I could, you know, I could put it anywhere over there. I couldn't really put it many places over here except for right there. I decided to put an APC at the top of the stairs here so that I could easily turn things on and off as I'm entering and leaving this little area. And I'm sorry, I think I missed to tell you that it's now day 147. I think towards the end of day 147, so this is taking a long time to actually do, which is why I'm kind of doing these insane jump cuts, because there's a lot to get through. And I knew that when I was recording, so that's why I didn't do too much talking, and I thought I'd do it in post. So there we're just connecting into the main line that we sent through here earlier, and I'm pretty sure I remember saying I'm pretty sure we can use this later for other things. So there you go, it came in handy as I anticipated. So with the machine now hooked up to the IC, a little test of whether the IC works or not before moving all the other printers up here, and we can confirm that that does actually work, and hey presto. Now I'm not going to lie, I actually felt a twang of sadness when I started pulling down the printers in this room. I'd used this bunker for so long, it was home, and having to dismantle these printers actually felt wrong somehow. So because of how infrequently the tool manufacturer is actually used, I decided to put that under the stairs out of the way, because it's not used very often, and under the stairs is probably the best place for it. All that said about the not wanting to leave the bunker, the new home here for the manufacturing area has a view and is pretty smart and pretty neat, so it'll do. You know, it's not the bunker, but it's good for what it is. I like it. So after all those internal renovations, the next plan was to look at the water cooling solution from the burner. Now this is going to be a roof side cooling area for from down below. You can see the pipe comes up there through a hole in the roof, which will be eventually capped off with windows or something. And that's going to be the final stage of the cooling before going into another tank. Next on the agenda is taking down the intake for the atmosphere temperature gas tank that we put up earlier. That's because we are going to replace the current cooling system that we have with a new cooling system. It's still Elmo's system, but it's the next size. I think it's the biggest size up actually. It's the one with, I think, 15, something like that, AC units. So it's going to take up a fair bit of space. So we're just going to remove these vents and relocate them. While that's all going on, I'm printing all of the necessary stuff that we need. And this is where the dual printer setup comes in, because the top one was printing atmospheric units and the bottom one was printing pipes. And we get through all the work that needs printing really quickly and efficiently. Back outside, I'm going to run the intake onto what will be one of the walls of the structure. I've decided that this wall here, I've put these frames in and I've decided this is going to be the back wall. So we're running it underneath and out the back here, and we will put the vents on the back wall. For now, they might not be there forever, but this was just a temporary relocation. Oh, maybe a permanent relocation, maybe a temporary relocation. We'll find out as time goes on whether they stay in this place or not. But the long and the short of it is, this is where I've put them for now, after venting a little bit of the gas out of the tanks, because otherwise they could have had explosive problems when messing with all these pipes. Somehow we're on day 152 now, and the next thing I did was remove pretty much all of the alloy ingots that I had lying around in the bunker, and make a new storage area up here where I can have everything close to the new printing area. Some order is brought to the chaos of mess that's around the base, and these shelves are used for actual storage now. Down here will be probably expanded into the bunker and turned into a large storage area, I think is the plan. I'm not quite sure about that yet. Anyway, on with the next part of the plan. The air conditioning units are going in for the big AC system. It's the one that has 2 on one side and 3 on the end side with 2 in the middle. This took a little bit of working out. I didn't put it all in one continuous line. I make a bend in it. Took me some time. I had a few misfires and a few problems with ICs. In the end, I did manage to sort it all out. I'm going to spare you the details. If anyone has any questions about this setup and the problems I had, I can't even... off the top of my head, I can't remember how I solved it. I think it was an issue with having to tear down and replace the AC units after placing a filtration system in the place. For some reason, it was registering the wrong thing and I was getting cold side putting out hot side, but I managed to solve it anyway. On to day 154 now, and ADHD and me have decided that we're gonna go and do the greenhouse now in the middle of doing the AC units, because I think the reasoning in my mind at the time was, well, the bays are nearly done, they just need to be finalized and put into motion, and while I'm here messing with this AC unit, they could be making food. Although on this build I learned the lessons from the previous build and made sure that I did the chutes correctly, because that was embarrassing to say the least before. And, well, you know, you learn from your mistakes, right? That's the idea. Making a mistake once is fine. Making it twice is foolish. I will just add that with these ones I decided to go with the pipes rather than the full suite of hydroponics trays just because I didn't really want to be putting too many plants in and using too many trays to absorb water at the moment. It's optional. This is one of the ways you can set them up if you don't want to use too many planters. I will hasten to add that I haven't been in the game properly since the new update. I've been on and I've seen that I have got maybe an extra 10 frames a second, which is not bad at all for my old machine, considering I was at about 15 previously. I'm now about 25 most places in my base, which is really good. So I know they've changed a few things. I don't know what they've changed. This may not work anymore, just to be aware of that. I'm just not sure myself. So we're on day 156 now, and as you can see, I have potatoes going in. I'm gonna eventually come back and see what makes more biomass slash food that can go rodden to go or be straight used in a composter one way or the other. Eventually I will actually run the numbers on that, but for now we're just getting them set up. So the next thing on the agenda was to get back to the AC unit. This is, as I said, Elmo's design, and I'm here putting in the pumps. I've laid the pipes out in such a way that it's missing a few spots for maybe a few pipes, but mostly for things like valves and pumps. After considerable time backing and forwarding, toing and froing, and generally having to feng shui pipes, it was time to put in the radiators. Once it was all constructed, the only thing left to do then was to fill the system with nitrogen, which takes a while, and to get to pressure, because this works better under pressure, it takes a while to cool down, especially from the Venusian atmosphere, but once it does, you have a very efficient cooling capacity system. It works really well. Obviously, the other thing that we need apart from nitrogen is power to make the system work. We use this orange cable and stick it on a separate line down here into the power battery area on a separate transformer, and Bob's your uncle. By sunset of day 158, we were nearly ready to turn the whole system on. So during the storm, I came in the greenhouse to check on the new potatoes and found that some of them were lacking water for some odd reason. Now, I did a bit of investigating here, and for some strange reason, it appears that the water going into the hydroponics trays, that there's more in the pipe going in than there is in the pipe on the other side of them. Now, I don't know if this is intentional or a bug or what the crack is, but it just didn't seem right. Like the water in the middle pipes there are significantly less than the ones coming into this bay. Now, I don't know if that's because it's going from one bay directly to another, or if it's going because it's going through hydroponic trays. I don't know how the mechanics of this works, but I was sure that there was something weird going on here anyway, because they had water, they had enough water, but they were dead anyway. So the only solution I could think of to solve this problem was to connect the Harvey bays up directly to the main line rather than going through another Harvey bay, just to be on the safe side. I realise now, in retrospect, I could have just pulled the pipes up in between the bays, but of course that would have been too easy, so I naturally went and built more pipes. Anyway, I'm afraid the footage of me fixing that problem seems to have gone awry, or I didn't record, or something went wrong, so I do apologise. But now we're on day 163, and the AC system is starting to pressurize nicely throughout the system. We're actually at a fairly decent pressure around the system. The only problem is that in checking through some of them, there's some that are set incorrectly. Now, I don't know why this happened. I did try to turn it off and on again, remove the chip. I even tried to uninstall and reinstall them. I had to actually install a separate item in that space and then reinstall it to get it to work. I don't know why, but I'm assuming it's a bug rather than a problem with Elmo's code, in fairness. But anyway, it was fixed in the end. That's the main thing, right? That's what matters. And thank you once again to Elmo for sharing this setup. As I say, I've kind of put it at a slight angle, just so it was a bit easier to fit on the roof that I had. Now he's put it in towers. I'd love to rework. I'd love to have seen the towers before I made this, just because I think that they're awesome. But anyway, it is what it is, and we've got what we've got. Now, again, I must apologise even more because at this stage we have some colours. Yes, that's right. We have also got Elmo's network printer mod, which is very good. It can do a whole network of pipes in single or checkered colours, however you like. And I've decided to put a brown for pollutant in this instance up here on the roof, upside down, out of the way, give ourselves more floor space. This is actually quite cold pollutant, so it's a blue and brown pipe. Now blue is coolant on its own. Blue and something else means it's a cold version of that gas. Red on its own is a hot gas. Red and something else means it's a hot gas of a certain type. Grey is on my base in my world. Grey is the waste pipe for all gases. It can be any gases. The purple is the volatiles, and blue is water, obviously on the water side, but it's also green water is drinkable, hot drinkable water. Red is hot water, steam. Blue and I haven't quite got a cold water yet because blue is cold, so I have to think about that one. Anyway, yellow in a insulated pipe in my world has to be fuel. Nothing else goes in the yellow insulated pipe except for fuel. And yellow inside is generally for the room because it's the original basic colours for rooms. What else? White is oxygen. And orange, I believe, is undefined for now. It can just be anything. I'm not sure about any other ones. I have to figure them out as I go. Now, sometimes the airlocks just don't want to play, I think, is what happened here. Is that what happened there? Did I run out of power? Oh, yeah, I ran out of power. That was right. Which leads me on to the next thing, which is, oh no, we're running out of power. This new AC system obviously draws more than we're producing, so that's the next problem to solve. So as the sun came up on this fine morning of day 163, okay, that's 163. I had to manually spin around a bunch of solar panels just to get enough juice in to power the IC chip that reads the sensor that powers everything. It's kind of frustrating actually. Like, I could have put that on a APC separately with the battery. I thought about that right at the start and I decided against it for some reason. Now I'm kind of thinking that would have been a good idea. I think it was just... I was confident that we'd never run out of power. Well, shows how wrong I was. But everything else is off. There's power coming in, so now all of them should... Have I got the right one on? They should turn round? Like, it's the only thing getting power. But it's the same power as the network as the greenhouse, which is not good. So... I guess turn a few more of them. I mean, at this stage you could possibly even do it. No, you couldn't. You couldn't do that. You could actually. You could change the angle of them up and over instead. But I'm obviously panicking here a bit because we're already running low on power, and now we don't have any more power coming in for the full length of the solar day, and I can't figure out why. This whole situation inspires me to go and print some wind turbines, which I probably should have done a long time ago. But I always put it off, thinking, we'll do with the solar that we've got, it's fine. And it is fine until the inevitable happens, and it's not fine. So anyway, with just a few minutes of running around indoors, the batteries are now doing really well. So it's time to turn the rest of the base back on and get everything else working away because, well, we have power now, we're going to use it. Okay, this is a really intense, short format kind of a video. Something I've never done before. It's all new to me and I've cut a lot out. I'm actually going to go and tot up how many game hours or how many hours of recording I've condensed into 35 minutes, let's say, of actual video. Obviously there's a lot of things I've missed as I've been looking over. I don't know whether I don't have the colouring of the pipes or if I didn't record it, if I've lost it, deleted it. I don't understand. That is one of the reasons that it might be a bad way of doing things. I mean, in the future I am going to be recording. Just a little update, my new machine is one step closer to being complete. The graphics card is mine, and I'm waiting now on other parts and bits and bobs, and I should have a decent machine within a few weeks, which will mean I can start recording much better quality videos, playing games in much higher quality. I can even do it can do ray tracing, so I'm looking forward to getting my mitts on this. So as you can see there in the background, I am doing some mining because I had to get some silicon, and while I was getting the silicon I also grabbed some cobalt just because now this is a very disjointed format, and now I'm doing it for more end game stuff. And as I say, I will, with my new machine comes, I will start doing a bit more play and record at the same time. The thing is, at the moment, it's not... Yeah, I'm still playing catch up. Okay, I've just had a look. This is 5 hours worth of recording condensed into half an hour. And I have 21 hours remaining, which means another 4 episodes about this long, give or take, maybe, perhaps. Might be longer, might be shorter, depends on the content, depends on what I got to say about the content. I'm at the point now where I'm lightly brushing over for people who've been following the series and for people who play the game, who might be finding the series for the first time. Of course, it's all there in the playlist for people to go and watch, be my guest. Now, unfortunately or fortunately, depending on what way you want to look at it, this time of year I'm quite busy doing bits and pieces, so I don't have as much time to put into recording or to actually producing these videos as I used to. So that's why there's has been a significant delay between the last one and this one. Hopefully I will be able to knock them out more than once per week, but again, I can't guarantee anything at the moment. But that doesn't mean to say I don't have some great content in my head lined up. I have got some how-tos lined up in my mind maps ready to go. I just have to wait for my new machine, and that'll be a good test of my new machine to get them up and running. I'll be able to do short videos, render them, see how fast everything it runs, see the quality of everything, and hopefully be very impressed, as I hope you will be too. And not just by the graphics and the recording quality, but also hopefully by my content. If you have made it this far, then surely you must have liked something of what you were seeing. So please, if you don't mind, don't forget to hit the like, and I shall hopefully catch you on the next one. All right, goodbye for now.